All right, here we are on another Friday. Hard to believe we are powering through the summer. We are in August, mid-August already. It's crazy. Super excited about our guest today on Fintech Friday. We've got Andria Thomas. Andria is a product strategist. I'm going to let Andria talk about her background, but she's somebody that we've come to know really well at FinLocker, admire her work, her experience, and expertise, and really excited to have a conversation today around the consumer and all things digital. So welcome, Andria.
Thank you so much, Brian. I'm so glad to be part of this conversation.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's a conversation. It's just two people chilling and talking. So let's start the way I always start these shows, which probably is getting old, but so far this is episode 17. The first 16 episodes, when I've asked this question, there's literally a different response to the same question. And the question is, when you hear the term fintech, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And I'm actually pretty curious to hear what the breadth of answers is that you've heard before. I think my top line answer might be similar to what others have shared, which is it's using technology to make financial services better for people. Like, just pretty straightforward. But because I have a background in management consulting, I tend to present everything in sort of like 3 bullet points. And so for me, using technology to make financial services better probably falls into 3 categories. Expanding access to those who are being left out or left behind. Getting a better deal by saving money or saving time. Time is money, so making the process more efficient. And then helping people more easily achieve their goals. So somewhere between access if you didn't have it, like saving time or money, and achieving your goals. But the other component I'll add to my definition of like what does fintech mean to you is that it's not universally positive to put technology more into financial services. And I think that's an important part of the conversation as well. It can do a lot of positive when used well, but there's always a flip side. And if we're not cognizant of that flip side and like working to mitigate it, then you risk leaving other people further behind. And that's something that I think should be part of the conversation.
No, I love that. I want to come back to your bullet points in a moment, but just to kind of bring some context to your experience and expertise in this space, just share with us a little bit about your background. What have you done and where have you done it?
Yeah, I've done a lot all over the place. I've sometimes just used the word oddball to describe my career trajectory because, for many people, like a career can mean, 15 or 20 years in the same industry or the same company even. That has not been my experience. I'm a problem solver who likes to solve problems that help people. And so I've done that, initially with technology. I worked for a bunch of startups based in Charlottesville, Virginia, where I went to undergrad. And then I took my problem solving hat and tried to solve problems in another country. So I was a Peace Corps volunteer. And then I went to grad school and thought, well, let me expand how I can solve problems for people. And so I developed the skill set and I took that to consulting for 11 years, which is a crazy amount of time to work in management consulting. But I did that first for companies. And then I put on that like mission-driven hat and said, well, how can I apply strategy and problem solving in a more like directly mission-oriented way? And I went to a firm where one of the things I did was I co-led their global practice in financial inclusion. So expanding access to financial services for those who are very much being left behind, and thinking about what are those models that can really help to expand the pie. And then I eventually found my way to Capital One. So taking that financial services lens and saying, well, how can I create more impact at scale? And I first took over one product line and then ended up leading a product they have called CreditWise, which has credit monitoring and protection services and seeking a broader financial health portfolio with a base of tens of millions of users. And so strategy, product, helping users, those are all sort of components of what make up my background.
Love it. Yeah, and again, you hit on another area that I want to focus on for the next few minutes. So before we went live, I kind of talked to you about who our audience is here for FinTech Friday. we think, because people don't sign up per se and tell us who they are, but we think we're principally talking to professionals in the mortgage industry and maybe mortgage and real estate and some adjacencies as well. We in the mortgage industry today, and I come from a background that's heavily influenced by mortgage, and so the industry that I've been part of for a long time before coming to FinLocker, there's the mortgage industry, and today especially there is a heightened sense of focus and attention, and I would say 95% of it is for the right reasons on helping lift and improve consumers and people that have been systemically underserved and ignored for decades, if not longer. And I say that 90% of it is, I believe, sincere desire by people and companies to help, and there's always that fringe that are doing it for whatever reason they're doing it. But nonetheless, there is a lot of talk and a lot of focus, a lot of attention, a lot of ideas being shared around specifically how do we do this to enable more people to come into the mortgage industry or into the home ownership realm, if you will. I would just love to kind of get your thoughts on, for our audience, what are some things that they should be thinking about as it relates to technology and how they should think about technology, not as the answer or end all, but as a component of the solution.
Oh, I have so many thoughts. So let me break down, I think, this question, because there's so much you could talk about. I think one component I heard is how could technology help help people who are seeking a mortgage, just generally. Leaving out the fact that some have been maybe disproportionately left behind or underserved or cut out or redlined. So there's technology that can help just improve the process and make it easier, bring more people through. Then there's maybe an added lens, maybe I might even say like a more important lens, first and foremost, like addressing systemic inequalities in the mortgage acquisition process for a person. And that's a very different question, but I love that you asked it or implied it. That's about too many words in your mouth. I think it's really important as well. And then I might add like a third thing that we could talk about related to this, because again, consultants, everything is in a group of three, which is what are some ways in which people in the mortgage industry can hold themselves accountable to or ensure that they're doing things that are in buckets 1 and 2. Which I think could just be another meaty topic of conversation.
Right on. I love it.
For the first one, I do think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. Just generally, how can you make the process of getting a mortgage better? So my husband and I have been very fortunate. We've gone through this process a few times, and we are by no means I wouldn't have put us in the underserved category, but at one point we were a first-time home buyer. I would say at no point were we an educated home buyer. We needed a home at a particular point in time, and we went out and we did like the minimum amount of work needed to do it in a way that didn't feel like we were going to get ripped off. And I think that's an important lens to consider, is that ultimately people are really busy. So there is a category of people who will really invest tremendous amount of time in doing their due diligence, doing all their education, looking out for the best deal in all aspects of their life. And, so that's a category of people who are seeking a mortgage. There's also a category of people who need a home, but have other things on their mind. There is a segment of the population that is looking for a new home right as they're about to have child number 1, 2, or 3. And these are other things that take up mind share. And so then how much can you allocate to understanding the process? And so I realize I'm being a bit long-winded, but I think an answer to the question of how can technology help is to reduce the mind share that is required for a consumer to get a mortgage and help them avoid some common gotchas that trip people up. So there's something around that, especially that middle category of the first 3 that I cited, helping users save time or save money in the process, where I think technology is really well suited to fill some gaps. And so we can talk
Just to kind of just to poke on that one a little bit, because this is where we at FinLocker talk a lot about this particular area in relation to what we think our product can do. Traditionally, and it sounds like when you were a first-time home buyer, this is probably the way it went, because I could tell you it was the way it went for me. And by the way, when I bought my first home, I was in the mortgage industry.
Yeah.
Most first-time home buyers find the home first, right? Mm-hmm. And that creates an emotional attachment now to the home, right? And then they seek financing to support the transaction.
Yeah.
Which creates stress on the process and potentially doesn't provide for the optimal financing solution, because now you're solving for something emotional you're already attached to, and you may be willing to stretch the decision you make from a financial perspective to support that emotional attachment. Whereas we think of the process ought to be inverted, where you get financially prepared first, which includes understanding exactly what you can afford, what the financing would look like, and then go find the home that fits your means. Does that make sense?
It does. So I'm going to agree with you and then disagree with you. So I'll agree with you by saying I see where it can cause stress, and I might even add a component. So I do think the challenge of the emotional attachment to a particular home without aligning it to, is this an affordable home, is an interesting one. I think the other stress that it adds is one of time urgency, right? Like if you're bound to a particular home, then you've got to line up your financing ASAP, right?
Right.
Some markets, those houses are going in a day or negative time, basically, before they're listed. So there's that tension on the process. The part where I will gently disagree is in the reality of trying to flip that mindset and have people think preparedness before thinking emotional attachment. There are so many elements of human nature that are going to make that hard.
Yeah.
However, I do think there's maybe some opportunities if we're just going to brainstorm here.
Yeah.
If people naturally think of a home before they think, how can I pay for that home? They need to anchor to something. Maybe we can shift the process up a bit by having them anchor to an illustrative home. Have them find something and call it dream home versus the home that I'm going to buy next month.
Right.
And then plan for that and do the mortgage calculator against that, and maybe refine their view of what a dream house is at the illustrative hypothetical fantasy stage, rather than the home that's at 3303 Smith Lane. If I lose it, I'm going to cry. And so that's taking the existing mentality. You're not trying to change human behavior.
Yeah.
But you're adapting to it.
I love that. Again, my decades of being in the mortgage space kind of probably have me thinking about this differently, but I think of it in the context of originators and lenders who traditionally are getting referrals from the real estate community, right? So just sequentially, logically, that financing is going to happen after the property's been picked out or at least looked at. And part of my thought process here is, yes, I do fundamentally believe it's the right approach for a consumer to start with finance and then find the home. But notwithstanding that, I think for lenders in particular, if they can start thinking about that way, which means they've got to think about how to get up the funnel and get in front of more consumers up the funnel than they traditionally do today at the point of sale. Mm-hmm. Right? You got to figure out how to become part of the point of thought and insert themselves there. And it's not a small ask. I mean, there's big companies that spend billions of dollars a year in marketing. We know at least one of them who's not too far from where I am in the Detroit area, that are clearly trying to get to the point of thought. And I think just for the IMBs, the independent mortgage bankers, and others that are out there in that space, that's the challenge: is how do you become relevant to more consumers earlier in their financial life?
Yeah, think about it this way. most people do not want to spend their free time like deep diving into their finances, and especially being confronted with the debt that they have. And I say this as like literally having led a credit score monitoring product. Like sometimes you look at it and your credit score has gone down, or it's not what you want, and you're choosing to look at something that is demoralizing.
Yeah.
And so you have to fight that emotion for people, and to try to get them to put that ahead of like the emotional tie of the home.
Yeah.
Like maybe it'll work for some, but like why push that boulder so far uphill? Why not attach yourself to where a user's mentality already is and bring that to you? So now what if a lender, I'm just, again, spitballing here. What if their website said, we will help you find your dream home. Here's 6 categories of ones in your neighborhood, right? 3-bedroom ranch, condo unit with this many bedrooms. Tell us a little bit and we'll give you some options.
Yeah.
Again, that sort of, that mentality. And then you can say, and now here we'll help you do all the financing for however many categories you want.
Love it.
Again, you're fighting less human behavior.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense, and I love the challenge on the thesis, because what one may think in reality you've got to deploy it in mass to get to get scale and to get eyeballs, and if you're not relevant at the time of consumers having the thought, then you are right, you're pushing the boulder uphill.
Yep. And as you may know, we have done some recent user research with FinLocker, who I'm partnering with right now. And there are users who are like very careful and cautious and planning oriented around their finances. And yes, you could potentially like have this conversation directly with them, but even for them, they have found their lender through their agent, right?
Right.
Like there's a natural sequence in a user's mind, and it's a very hard thing to try to flip. And then for those who are not planners, like it's unquestionably like, let me go find my dream house first, and they're very forthright about it. So how can you take advantage of that and make it a feature instead of a bug?
Right. So we just riffed a little bit on point number 1. So I think your second bullet point was around kind of savings, right? What's in it for me, whether it's economical or in the form of time. Maybe let's dive a little bit into that.
Yeah. So how can you just get a better deal, right? Or how can you know if you were getting a good deal? So some of the user research that we did, there's so much anxiety that users have. They first cited like just the home buying economy today, how quickly homes are getting snapped up, what it means to be looking for a home and then feeling pressure to take a house as is, like all the things that are sort of very common, but especially for a first-time home buyer. Like how awful it must feel to be like preparing for this like by far the biggest purchase you will be making in your life for the first time, not know the process, and then feel like you might get ripped off for hundreds of thousands of dollars that you cannot afford, right? And so there's so many ways to any alleviation of stress in this process is a win. One alleviation of stress would be just letting people know very clearly, like what comprises the process, like what comprises the set of expenses. And this is like the number of users that we spoke with who were like, I think there's something called mortgage insurance. I heard this other acronym. What is that? Through to those who were like, I'm planning for the expenses that might happen if my appliances break down in my first year. But there's this set of unknown knowledge about the total cost. Technology can help with that. You can literally calculate from somebody's balance and the potential home they might have what that looks like, and that is useful through all the way through to like getting a better deal later, right? So the whole refinance opportunity, and this is something that I have some experience with Capital One on the auto side, but refinancing is fascinating because like you have 2 ways to really trigger a refinance in a user, right? Like one, they're that proactive planner. They're always scouring for the best deal and they will just, great, they're taken care of. Or what, you happen across an ad or an email that tells you about a rate and you're curious or has an offer, but that feels very passive. Like that might not be the best offer for that person. That might not be the right time for them. They might be too busy to even take advantage of what is a great offer. And so one thing technology can do is maybe better map the right offer at the right time for the user. Maybe the user sets a threshold. Do not show me refi offers unless I can save, $200 a month.
Right.
That offer appears when you can, and they can take advantage of it, and that saves the lender money, time and money, and it's good for the user. So that's a win-win.
So I don't know if you're aware, I'm sure you are, but Black Knight had a study, I think last year, that talked about retention, right? Customer retention. And in the mortgage industry, over an extended period of time, customer retention was less than 20%. And so when I'm thinking about refinance, the logical place to start is with the person you got the mortgage from to begin with. Mm-hmm. But the numbers say that 8+ times out of 10, the consumer goes somewhere else for a refinance.
Well, let me probe on that. Why is it the logical place to go for a refinance?
Well, good. I would say it's only logical in the sense that I've already, showed you everything about me financially to get this mortgage. So you already know me, and at least you should know me better than somebody new that I would be talking to. That would be my premise.
Yep. I think that's a great question to get some more user research on. And I haven't done that research, but some alternate hypotheses, given the numbers that you shared about how many you go elsewhere. One, you feel like you actually just don't know that you can refinance with the same lender. So just ignorance. Yep. Two, you feel like you're betraying them. Like you feel like, you gave me this deal and I'm going to have to sell you out. So sorry for you. I'll just, I won't tell you and I'll go talk to somebody down the street. Yeah. Or three, again, like you don't even think about refinancing at all. You're just responding passively to something that seemed like a good deal. And then it's a free for all. Like who's going to put more offers in front of that user? Yeah.
Your answers are all of the above, because I've seen it over my career and I continue to kind of watch that space. And the average consumer doesn't, especially if you think about the mortgage ecosystem, starts typically with a lender who then sells the mortgage servicing asset somewhere else. And so 2-3 years down the road, Brian View was my guy that I got a mortgage from, but I've been paying my mortgage every month to XYZ servicer. That's my mortgage company. And so,
like the mental disconnect, right?
Yeah. It's fascinating to watch it.
But then like to flip it again to like a solution. So if any or all of these hypotheses around like the user mentality are true, what does that original lender need to do to maintain the relationship through, subsequent refis? Maybe if you know that like ultimately all the user wants is the best deal, right? Like the confidence that they're getting the best deal, then one of the things you can do is find ways to demonstrate that, right? Like I have done the scan of, and maybe this is already happening, but as the previous owner of multiple houses, I have no memory of that actually happening through any of the lenders that we worked with, is I have done the scan of other lenders. This is the average rate. Here's the min and max. You will always get the best rate from me.
Yeah. Love it. And to your point, that is 100% solvable with technology. Mm-hmm. 100%.
Exactly.
All right. Bullet point 3. I don't even remember what it was.
To help you achieve your goals.
There you go.
So there are fintechs that like help to automate savings for you. It's super hard to do. Like, it's always easier to spend money somewhere else rather than sock it away for a rainy day.
Yeah.
So relying on technology to help you like demonstrate the willpower that you wish you had.
Right.
There's so many tools to do that. Savings is just one. And paired with like debt reduction or ways to improve your credit score. There are tools to do this seamlessly. And it's an interesting question. Well, actually, savings for down payment would be like an easy tie-in to the mortgage industry.
Right. When you think of the carrot and stick approach, like from a consumer perspective, what's more effective from the technology? Is it banging someone over the head when they veer off their savings plan, or is it what we hear, all the gamification and kind of digital rewards and things like that? what resonates? What did you see as helping kind of drive that behavior?
I'm going to turn this around, Brian. What would you do? Let's say you were saving for a house like double your size because you wanted to bring all your family in and start like something big, big pool, something.
Yeah.
And you're trying to save away money. And you went to Vegas one weekend and you blew through your savings goal. What would you want that app to do for you? So
I'm a super visual person and kind of have a football background. Not that I played it, but coached it a little bit. So I would think of it if I've created a goal to save for a new home, for a down payment on a new home, and it's double the size and it has the pool, the 3-car garage, all the stuff that I want. When I set my goal, I would want the visualization of the reward. The reward is this dream home. And so now I'm in Vegas and I've set a goal and I'm using a piece of technology to track that goal, right? It's linked to my account. And while I'm in Vegas, I'm hitting the ATM every 20 minutes and 800 more. And so when I go back into my app to see kind of how I'm doing, there's half a pool. So you could do that. I'm more of a carrot or a stick guy. Hit me over the head and remind me that I'm veering off. But that would be me. It'd be more of a visual representation of what the goal that you crystallize and envision is now getting blurry, and you're about to lose it. Yeah, that would be impactful for me, I think.
I think you said a few of the key things that I would use to sort of close out this response. One of them is, this would be me. That's exactly right. Like, everybody is different. And one of the things that technology can do is look at what you tell it and past behavior and say, what will work best for this person in a way that like a very good person could do. But everybody tends to like their own style, and then you will lose some people. So there's this aspect of being able to tailor the experience based on technology. Another is, I really love what you said around I would re-anchor to the goal. And so the frequency of reminders, regardless of the form that they take, like reminder when you're pulling $800 out, are you sure you want to lose that part of the house? Is it going to push your house goal out by 3 months? Those kind of triggers to re-anchor on what you want. I think that is a common theme that would be true for, that could be true for more people.
Love it. Well, this has been a blast. We're almost at 30 minutes here. We've been cranking away. So I'll leave a few minutes for my final question. And this one is, to let people kind of know a little bit about you and not just your professional background, but, what do you like to do when you're not trying to solve the world's problems from a product perspective? What's fun for you?
Oh, there's a lot of fun things. We've been on a tour of Virginia state parks, and actually recently into West Virginia recently. So I love the outdoors. And I do like to look for silver linings when things are hard. And God, what could have been harder than the last 17 months? But there's a silver lining in terms of forcing you to make the most of what's available around you. So exploring nearby states and nearby parks. I love to spend time with my kids, and so we're taking big bike adventures. And I will share a distinguishing feature, my favorite food group is French fries, really crispy French fries. So if we ever meet in person, whoever's out there watching this, French fries are the way to my heart.
So I didn't realize, now I know French fries is an actual food group. So
yes, that's right. For me it is. I'm defining my own.
So it has its own place on the pyramid.
That's exactly right.
Well, this has been a blast. I enjoyed the conversation. I think you said earlier that we could probably riff for another 30 to 40 minutes. I think we could probably pick apart a few of these topics and do this again. This was a riot. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It was a real pleasure. Have a great day.
Last, I have a feeling that there'll be some folks that listen and watch that are going to want to get to know you and see if there's ways that you might be able to help them in their business. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Oh, great question. I like email. Everybody likes email. firstname.lastname@gmail.com. Anybody, I welcome your communication.
Awesome. Perfect. Andria, thanks for joining.
Thank you. Bye.